So, dear surgical friends around the globe, welcome to our new project, Practical Surgery, which we are starting just now and right here in this place, the opening gate to the operation room. So, what do we have here? First, when you want to enter an operating room, you need to check that you are closed properly. So, let's start with what you shall be wearing here. Either these green fancy clothes or the blue ones, which I have just here on myself. The trousers and the surgical t-shirt. Once you have this on, you shall continue with your fancy or even more fancy surgical shoes. Either this very nice white ones, or if you prefer a different color, the blue ones, or if you have a particularly good day, you can take these pink ones too. And when you are like this, prepared for the next step, you can continue with your surgical cap. This is an absolute necessity, so your dirt from your hair doesn't fall into the operating field. And the final step, a smile and a surgical mask. So let's move on to the next step. So welcome in our next step in the washing room, just before we enter into the OR itself. So here, when you start your day at the operating room, you really need to clean your hands and arms properly. And you start with the surgical soap, and you can use the help of the surgical sponge with brush. And then once you are finished with those two, you enter to the final stage and use the disinfection in itself. So let's start. So you really need to clean your hands properly. You start with your palms and fingers. First you scrub the hands against each other, then the interdigital spaces, then the dorsum of your hands and the interdigital spaces, and then you go on with the individual fingers. The thumb, the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger. And the same goes with the second hand. Once you are done with your palms, you go gradually to the elbows with a screw-like movement. And then you really need to be careful about this step. You wash the soap, but you really need to have your hands upwards. So all the flow of the water just goes from your fingertips to the elbows. So then you can dry your hands. And now continue with the disinfection. So you have a proper pool of the water and you dive your fingers just inside it so your fingertips are properly soaked. Do the same with the second hand. And wash your hands properly. And now the same goes as with the soap. So you really clean your palms against each other, the interdigital spaces, then the dorsum of your hand, and then the individual fingers. Once you are finished with those, let's continue with the rest of your arms, and from distal parts to the proximal. Of course, now it's possible to repeat the process after a proper time which you give to your hands and just let the time work and leave it for 1 or 2 minutes so the disinfection can properly work. And once you're ready, you continue to the operating room.